Hi.
All right.
So excited for this. What are we making today?
We are making sofrito. I'm Alejandra Ramos. I'm a food blogger, private chef, and recipe developer from New York City. Have you ever made sofrito?
Well, I just either got it at my grandma's house or went to a grocery store. So.
All right. Well, we are gonna make it from scratch.
And you're gonna teach me?
Yes, we're
Awesome.
gonna teach it. So you don't have to go to the grocery store anymore.
All right, let's do
it.
I am José Rosario. I am an internal auditor here at the Jennie-O corporate office in Wilmar.
First, let's talk about what sofrito is.
Okay.
Sofrito is a mix of herbs and peppers and aromatics like onions and garlic that you use as the base for almost all Puerto Rican recipes, right? So it gives it lots of flavor, but what's nice about it is that once you make it once, it's done.
Yeah.
And you don't have to chop your onions every single time, which is great.
So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. As I think of Puerto Rican culture, I think of people who like to have a good time with others, just get together, and then food is always involved.
I love food. I've always loved food. Well, for me, food has always been about celebration. It's about indulgence. It's the way that you can celebrate everyday moments, which I think is so important in the middle of our crazy lives. So we're gonna start off with some onions.
Okay.
For me, I get most excited about food that I can share, like party food. I mean, that's just the best thing in the world. That's what gets me really excited.
So where did you learn to make sofrito?
Well, I'm Puerto Rican and I grew up making it. Like my mom would always make it. It was always kind of just in our kitchen. In Puerto Rico, we eat a lot. It's not just about the food itself, although that's always great, but it's about the moments and the time that you're sharing with people over the food. So ordering dessert isn't just a delicious dessert, it's an extra 15-20 minutes to share with the people that you love. So you just kind of want like roughly chopped, right? Just some smaller pieces so that the food processor doesn't get all blocked up. Also gonna do some bell peppers. All right, so we're gonna do 2 tomatoes. So again, just cut them like in 4 or 5 pieces. I think for many people, food is their culture, it's their heritage, it's what they remember from growing up, it's all those special moments. So people get passionate about these things because it's part of them. It's a part of you that you can actually share with someone else.
So then what all do you put sofrito in?
So you can use it as pretty much everything. Definitely any rice dishes like arroz con gandules, which we're making today. And then also you can do it in, like if you make mofongo, you can add it to it. If you do any kind of marinades for chicken.
Okay.
Really just for anything. So this is a Cubanelle pepper. They're also known as Italian frying peppers.
Okay.
And it's great. It's not spicy. It has a lot of really great flavor.
Okay.
But if you don't have this is something you could easily substitute with like a regular green bell pepper. If you had to say there was like Puerto Rico had a flavor, what would be the flavor?
I mean, I would say definitely sofrito is what gives a flavor to a lot of food that we eat. I would say one that I like a lot is mofongo. That's the one thing that every time I go home for, I don't know, for vacation or whatever I'm doing, I have to go and eat mofongo somewhere.
I know. Yeah, me too. That's like my first stop. And it's just 3 simple ingredients, right? It's just bacon, plantains, and garlic. But fried and mashed together, they're delicious.
And then you can just eat it, combine it with any meat.
Yeah, it's kind of like our mashed potatoes, but so much better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So much
It's kind of what brings a lot of memories from just like Christmas, growing up as a kid and whatnot. So now I told you my favorite. What's your favorite?
My grandfather always used to make fresh passion fruit juice in the mornings, and I would remember like waking up and hearing the spoon in the glass kind of like stirring as he stirred it together. And that smell of it when you first have it in the morning with your breakfast, it was like so fruity and delicious. So, and if I see passion fruit on a menu somewhere, I will always order it. Okay, so we're gonna get started with pureeing some of these ingredients. And so I like to use a food processor. You can also use a blender. So let's start with this batch and then we'll do it a little bit at a time. Just kind of break it up
so
and
you
add
want to get
more.
some onions in there probably
Yeah,
too,
let's
right?
get some onions in there too. All right, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of a first batch here. Just gonna chop it up. But you see how I did it so it's a little bit chunky?
Yeah.
So that's how...
So that's how it's supposed to be?
Yeah, because you don't want to liquefy it. You want it to be a little bit chunky. So how long have you been living here, away from Puerto Rico?
So I've been away from Puerto Rico for 6 years.
Okay.
And I would definitely tell you that one of the things that I miss the most is definitely the food. I would say food in the Puerto Rican culture is more of tradition. That's what defines us. And that's one of the things that I miss a lot about Puerto Rico, is just getting to enjoy that traditional food with family and friends.
Everybody loves food, right?
Yeah.
And so it's such an easy way to introduce people to your culture.
Yep.
So these are ajíes dulces, which are little sweet peppers. And depending on the size, I like to do about 8 to 12 of them in the sofrito.
Okay. So how about you? Do you have any stories where you kind of like got together with friends and show them a little bit of Puerto Rican cuisine and whatnot?
In college, I used to throw dinner parties in my dorm room. And that's not always the easiest thing because you don't really have everything you need. And it was such a great way to pull all my friends together. And people remember specific dishes that you made years later. That's so cool. Because when you're sharing a part of your culture, you want people to get excited about it. Yep. And so I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, are they going to think it's weird? But they loved it.
Okay.
I think we've got a good amount in here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm going to put a little bit of cumin, which gives it that nice smoky flavor. Okay, so these herbs are called culantro. It's also known as regao. And it's basically a cousin of regular cilantro. So the name is similar, but it's like 10 times stronger. And so then in addition to that, I'm gonna use one full bunch of regular cilantro.
Okay.
Put that in there. And then I also have some parsley. Alrighty, so I'm gonna let you mix stuff together here. Okay. If you wanna actually stir while I get the rest of this in here, and you're just kind of like mixing all these ingredients, right? Right. So I wouldn't call this a sauce. I think it's just kind of like a base. So we'll get that green color you were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I am used to. That's what my grandma used to. She used to make green, so I was expecting to see something green.
Yeah.
So this is a lot better. I guess within the Puerto Rican community, just people being different and whatnot. How would you say it's the Puerto Rican community in New York? Like
the Puerto Rican Day Parade is huge and people love it because it's opportunity to celebrate your culture, which you don't get to do every single day. Okay, so our sofrito is done. Okay. All right, so we can use this for cooking, but we also need to prep a couple other ingredients. We have this one pepper, so I already taught you how to. Yeah, I can do that. So I'm gonna handle it. So this one, basically, you want the little pieces because this is actually gonna go in the rice. Okay. So you want those kind of little smaller pieces. So what else are we gonna put in the rice? So we're gonna use some ham for this, and we use about 1/3 of a pound. Oh, I'm so excited. I would say, so we're making arroz con gandules, right? Which is rice with peas. Back home, we would eat this a lot, like I said, during Christmas time. Okay. It's just when you go to grandma's house, you will be eating arroz con gandules with pernil, which is what we talked about, the pork butt. So, and it's just, I don't know, I feel like Christmas is super traditional for us, and that's where time of the year that we for sure eat all these dishes.
Holidays and my family, it was I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was about family, but Christmas Day could be, you know, the cousins here, the uncles and aunts here, and grandma here with the youngest one, but when it's time to eat, everyone was together. You know, I feel like my mom's kitchen always smells like there's something going on.
Something good going on.
That's such a Puerto Rican thing.
Food in my family, I'm really spoiled on that end. And it's not just because it's my mom. People, when go and eat on my house, they always want to eat again the next morning.
All right, so all our prep is done. Are you ready to get cooking, sir?
I'm ready to eat already, so let's cook.
Hit the stove.
Let's go make some rice.
Let's do it.
Food connects you. It's all about the taste and the smell and the feeling, and then it's like when you smell something and it reminds you people, it's 10 times better with food because it's taste, smell, texture. So you can revive a whole day if you have the right food.
Here. So I just want to let that pot heat up a little bit. I'm going to add some oil.
Can you use any type of oil for this?
Yeah, so I'm using a little olive oil just because that's what my mom always used, but a little vegetable oil too. So we're going to start out by crisping this little ham a bit and these peppers that we cut out. So you know what, one of the cool things about living in New York is that I just literally went downstairs to like the store at the end of the block.
And we're refining everything.
I bought all these ingredients. I brought them with me in my suitcase.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Do you want to do the stirring?
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna scoop in some of this delicious ham.
My name is Kimberly Sines. I was born and raised here in Austin, Minnesota. Like, we have a big family, so every time we go to Texas or Mexico, we get with our family and we're always all together. We put music on, we're dancing, having meals, cooking together and everything.
So we're gonna put a little bit of our sofrito in. I do a heaping cup, so
You're a little kid.
I get a little generous with it. But doesn't this already smell?
It smells like heaven.
It smells like Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, it does.
We're not in Puerto Rico, we're in Minnesota. That's the cool thing, that no matter where you are with the right ingredients, you can bring those flavors and the smells of home with you.
Oh, it smells so good.
Food is very important for me. I love food. Every time we make food, it's nice because we're all together as a family, and that's what brings the family closer together.
So do you know what achiote is?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I use that too.
So achiote in English is a natto. So it's a seed that is used to add color and a little bit of flavor to a lot of Puerto Rican and actually a lot of Latin dishes.
And that is actually what makes the rice or turns it into yellow, right?
Exactly. I like to add the rice to the oil. Let's turn this down a tiny bit because it kind of toasts the rice a little bit. So that goes right in. Just seeing this makes me feel like I'm...
Like you're at home,
Yeah,
right?
like I'm home. Let me just get the liquids in there. So this is 1.5 cups of water. I'm adding some spices now. I added some oregano and a little bit of garlic powder, putting some paprika in, and I'm using smoked paprika, which is a little different than the traditional one. But what I like about it is that it brings out the ham flavors.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in there too.
This is starting to look like our Christmas meal.
What is your favorite thing about Christmas?
Definitely the food.
I feel like every answer for you is the food.
I mean, it is, because it's like...
Is that how you ended up working for a food company?
I guess, it has to be. We're feeding the world, right?
Working for Hormel, I'm proud. It's something that I can be proud of. It's a good company. It's a world leader in what we do. It's a company that cares about the community. But it's also the culture and how they treat their employees. I gotta recognize they take good care of us.
So I just want to let this boil a little bit. Just let it cook down a tiny bit. And then we'll cover it and let it simmer. So now we're gonna let it simmer for about 15 minutes. It depends a little bit on your stove, but yeah.
Nice. Can't wait for it.
When you first moved here, were you worried about going so far from home? And
I was a little bit. So at first I would say I was a little bit concerned as to, what are people gonna think? Am I gonna like lose my roots and my culture and whatnot? And actually I would say it's the other way around. So actually we have an ERG, employee resource group, which is called Nuestra Gente, which I would say it's based off our culture, like I said, with the company in general. It's not only for employees with Hispanic heritage, it's more for those employees that want to learn about it and are willing to embrace that culture and share that culture with others.
The people is the company. That's the message that we need to get across. And treating everyone with respect is the Hormel way. Looks delicious.
yeah.
Sharing the success stories. There are good Hormel Latinos working. They're happy here. That's what we're trying to share, and that's why we're here.
For me, it's definitely important to share my culture through food. I mean, it's the most natural way for me to share my culture. It's what feels the most familiar. Kind of showing people that is such an amazing way of introducing them to say, like, hey, we have so much in common. So start there. Start with the dumpling.
I think it's important that Hormel embraces diversity, just because I think it's important to have different backgrounds and different ideas on the table. People actually show that they want that to happen. It's not just how it looks from the outside, where we tell people we're trying to be inclusive and we're trying to be diverse. We actually have employees who want it to be that way.
That's what I mean when I say Hormel cares. I mean, that's something that they don't have to do. We are the ones doing it. That's the difference. It's the power of food.
Yeah, the power of food. Yes. Cheers to that.